As the Democratic Veepstakes ramp up, one name is being floated by major labor unions along with progressives, and that's Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, who has been all over MSNBC, ripping into both J.D. Vance, Donald Trump, along with weird people who want to go after cat ladies.
And I'll tell you what, go ahead and continue to denigrate people. Go ahead. My God, they went after cat people. Good luck with that. Turn on the internet and see what cat people do when you go after them. These are weird people on the other side. They want to take books away. They want to be in your exam room. That's what it comes down to. And don't, get sugarcoating this. These are weird ideas. Listen to them speak. Listen to how they talk about things. Listen to how your previous guests were right. Like you said, they've told them that they shouldn't talk about race. They can't help it. It is built into their DNA because there is no plan. There's no health care plan. They are bad on foreign policy. They are bad on the environment. They certainly have no health care plan. And they keep talking about the middle class that, as I said, a robber baron real estate guy and a venture capitalist trying to tell us they understand who we are. They don't know who we are.
The more I see of Tim Walz, the more I like him. Okay, not only is he really good on TV and he's really good on message, but he's got good progressive credentials. He's a former public school teacher, he's a union member, he's very pro-labor, he supports labor, he's got pro-labor legislation. Minnesota has been doing a lot of great things. For example, they established last year paid sick leave and medical leave, banned non-compete agreements, and expanded protections for Amazon warehouse workers. In May, Minnesota enacted a measure providing a raise for Uber and Lyft drivers, while also averting a threat made by companies to leave the state. So they got their raise, and the jobs are still there. In fact, Sarah Nelson, president of the Associated Flight Attendants CWA, told ABC News that she considers Walz one of the top candidates for the vice presidential pick because of how good he is for labor. Now, the other one, of course, is Andy Beshear, also another great pick. Let's be fair. In fact, Nelson said he got the workers from Uber involved before passing the bill to support workers' rights in the gig economy. That trust of workers and that understanding of the engagement of working people is absolutely something we're looking for. Walz, in addition to Walz, Nelson said she supports Beshear as another potential VP pick. Beshear, of course, has also walked the picket line in a red state and has a good legislative record on issues like expanding healthcare. Beshear is another one of those, very folksy people, protected transgender rights, while saying things like, well, yeah, of course we're going to protect transgender kids. They're children of God. So yeah, very folksy, very like regular working person kind of vibes. And so that's what I also get from Tim Walz. Now, Walz, Nelson said of Walz and Beshear, those two should really rise to the top. And that, both Beshear and Walz, they're on the short list, along with some other picks. And there's some other fantastic picks as well. And there's some picks that I'm not hugely in favor of, but, I'm not going to focus on that here. Getting back to Walz here and some of the stuff that he had done in Minnesota, they passed universal free school breakfast and lunch for students. And this is at a time where Republican governors had been rejecting federal funds to feed students in the summer. So these are, again, poor students who depend on free lunches to be able to eat. And of course, what do you do when you're in the summer? They can't eat. They don't have the money to eat. They depended on those school lunches. And so Walz was like, well, yeah, of course we're going to take federal money. We're going to feed people. We're going to do universal school lunch. We're not going to make it weirdly means tested like what Republicans and some Democrats want to do. We're just going to make it universal for everybody. Everybody gets to eat. I love it. And of course, at a time when Republicans are banning books, Minnesota banned the book bans, which is great. They also protected reproductive rights, abortion access, expanded voting rights, had universal background checks for guns, passed red flag laws. And again, this is Walz like, yeah, I'm a hunter. I believe in the Second Amendment, but there's nothing in that violates the Second Amendment. Background checks make sense to make sure that people who shouldn't have guns don't get guns. He, as I mentioned, protected transgender individuals as well. legalized cannabis, instituted paid family leave, banned PFAS chemicals, passed the largest infrastructure bill, and largest tax cut in state history for working people. This is what happens when you put progressives in charge. You get good policy. And there's a lot of good policy coming out of Minnesota. And of course, you also have people like Ilhan Omar that come out of Minnesota as well. So, I mean, good progressive policies and good progressive record. This is what we want. This is what I really like about Walz. But along with that, another thing that I really like about Walz, besides the record, is the contrast between him and J.D. Vance as a regular working person. Now, Walz is not a lawyer. He's a school teacher. He's a former Marine. He's what J.D. Vance pretends to be, an average working guy who understands the value of community. In fact, I got another video here of Walz going after the right wing and talking about his values.
How are you going to build a water treatment plant in a town of 400 if you don't have a collective effort at it? So I have to tell you, they scream socialism. We just build roads and we build schools and we build prosperity into this. Their whole plan is to go backwards, to give tax cuts to the wealthy. And look, it was so surprising. You know, these super successful Donald Trump, who inherited $400 million and then proceeded to fail at everything. Middle America, you earn it, but you know what? You're not on your own. Neighbors help neighbors. And I will, this one bothers me. I heard you talking about punching back at the bullies. They see people less fortunate as scapegoats and you know, punchlines for their jokes. We see them as neighbors. And I said it with my mom. My dad dies when my little brother's young. We're teenagers. We get Social Security survivor benefits. I'm all for pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. We didn't have any boots. Social Security was the boots, and we pulled ourselves up, and we paid that back. And I think J.D. Vance gets none of that. You know, it's the aw shucks, I'm from here or whatever. So my hillbilly cousins did not go to Yale, but I'll tell you what they did. They contributed to our community, and they're proud of it.
There's so much I love about that. The shots at Trump, of course, getting $400 million and then failing at everything. I love it. It's got a good sense of humor. But I think the best parts are explaining Republicans and how they scream socialism while we just build roads and we build schools. That's an encapsulation of the differences between Democrats and Republicans. And of course, Republicans, again, always yelling about socialism, et cetera, where they don't understand what socialism is. And Democrats are just like, I don't know, we got to build things. We got to make things. Duh. and we got to come together to do it. But my favorite part is when he says, well, you know, they love to say pull yourself up by your bootstraps, right? Well, we didn't have any boots. Social Security survivor benefits, they were our boots. And they allowed us to pull ourselves up. And I think that's, you know, and then we paid that back. And I think that makes a really good point there and is a great example of how these programs are meant to work. If you invest in people, okay, through those programs, then society, we all reap the rewards. Instead of letting a few people who are already incredibly wealthy and powerful at the top take everything, which is currently what people like J.D. Vance and Donald Trump want to do. So I think Walz, with that, and with his great TV appearances, etc., and Midwest appeal, he's the perfect foil for J.D. Vance and for Trump too. And so he'd be really good on that ticket. That said, there are a lot of other great picks. Andy Beshear, of course, G.B. Pritzker are some of my top favorites. But there's a pretty good, healthy stable of great progressive governors and great picks, politicians to pick from. And I really hope that Harris chooses someone who is close to labor, okay, has supported progressive policy, and of course can win over the Midwest. And I think Walz is my top pick for that. But I'm kind of curious to see what your top picks are as well in this.